Hi, and welcome to the Saved, Healed, and Made Whole podcast, where holistic health really can be simple, affordable, and attainable for you and your family. I am your host, Kayla J. Esteban. I am a biblical naturopathic doctor at SOZO Holistic Healing, where I work with natural-minded moms to find healing in mind, body, and spirit. So go grab your favorite cup of herbal tea, take a deep, relaxing breath, and we'll get started. Hello, and we are going to get started on the third episode of this podcast launch. So if you are just joining me for the very first time, it's great to have you, and hopefully you check out the other two introductory podcast episodes if you haven't listened to those already. And this time I really wanted to go into what I would consider probably one of the biggest myths of holistic health, and also one of the biggest, I don't know if hurdles is the right word, or obstacles or something, but it's the thing that I probably hear the most when I present holistic health to people as kind of an option, is the idea that, oh, well, it's just too expensive. I even had somebody tell me one time when I served them organic food that said, oh, organic, that's just another word for expensive, or something like that. And I do agree that yes, if you do it a certain way, it can be very expensive. There are so many big ticket market products that are out there that if you really want to, yes, you can spend thousands of dollars on all of these different things. But in my opinion and in my experience, you really don't have to. And you really shouldn't be, unless you really, really want to. And if you can afford it, then congratulations to you, but I can't. So, I try to make things as affordable and attainable to anybody that walks in my door, physically or metaphorically. For people that see me in a virtual session, I really try to accommodate people's budgets as best as possible, and just really try to make things as accessible as possible, because people really should not have to go into debt for their health, or to be, sacrificing their children's education, or family bonding, entertainment, or something like that, other things, quality of life, for their health. And so I wanted to really kind of talk about this. The other side of the controversy too is that, as somebody that has their own business, I have worked with like business coaches and other people in the business and stuff like that. And the feedback that I get a lot is like, because I do try to keep my prices low and I do try to keep things as accessible, people will say like, oh, well, you're not valuing yourself as much as you should, or like you should set your prices higher and people will like pay for it because they need it, or something like that. And I honestly just really thought about that, and it's not the person that I want to be. I don't want to be putting people through the choice of needing to spend all this money, even if they have been convinced that they need to. That's not the way that I want to operate my business. I want to operate from grace and compassion and a spirit of giving. And in my experience, when you give to people and you offer grace, you get a lot back. And that is something that I have seen in my life. I've been blessed with a lot of gifts back, and I'm very grateful for that. So it encourages me to continue the practice that I have. So I do not, I don't have a problem with valuing myself. I know that I could easily charge double for what I do if I wanted to, but it's not how I want to run my business. So that is that. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that all this stuff is true. The perception that people have about organic food and holistic health and crunchy living and alternative medicine is true. Like, let's just say that it actually is more expensive, even though I'll get into later why I believe it's not. So it may appear that you are spending more money. Like if you buy an organic, well, pasture raised chicken, that might cost $25 to $35. And if you buy a conventional chicken, that might be like 15 or 20 or something. And so, yes, if you're just looking at the price tag side by side, it does seem like it is more expensive just on that value, right? And if you look at the price tag of things like going to the chiropractor or like red light therapy or high quality supplements, like if you buy a good, well produced, high quality supplement versus something that you could just generically buy at an average drugstore, of course it's going to be a lot more expensive. But sick care health, so conventional medicine that takes care of people with chronic illnesses and things like that, is a billion-dollar industry. People spend so much money on a monthly basis with things like prescription refills or skincare products, going to therapy. Some people have weekly go to therapy for things like depression and anxiety. You might also be buying braces for your kids or yourself, things like that for their teeth, because nutritional deficiencies can cause crooked teeth. Treating cancer. I mean, cancer by itself is already a billion-dollar industry. Things later in life, I know many of us are not at that age, but we are at some point going to be at that age where people are getting lots of like hip and knee replacements and things like that, or getting strokes and heart attacks and on and on. So all of that stuff costs a lot of money. When you are sick, it takes a lot. And yes, I know insurance does pay for, depending on how good your insurance is, it does pay for some of that stuff, but sometimes it doesn't. I mean, braces, a lot of times you have to pay for that out of pocket. But, people nowadays in their 80s and 70s even, like they might need total care because they've had a stroke, and that is very expensive. I used to work in a skilled nursing, and the amount of money that people have to spend after their insurance runs out is bonkers to me. So in reality, from my perception, it is not more money. It's just being redistributed. So when you are spending more money in the front with buying organic things and supplements, to me, you are ideally saving money in the long run. So because all of these things can be avoided or at least minimized by putting in the investment up front with your health, by doing a lot of preventative practices, which is something that holistic health really does stress a lot, is avoiding getting sick in the first place, or avoiding your sickness or chronic illness progressing further. So it's, to me, like this is the actual health insurance in my life, even though, like, yes, I do have medical health insurance. To me, like, this is the insurance that I'm putting up front in my life to kind of ensure that I'm going to be living ideally a long and happy and healthy life without needing a lot of medical support in the long run. And the way that I have seen Americans do holistic health is like way more expensive than it needs to be. And I have seen proof of this when I was growing up, because many of you may or may not have known, I was born and raised in the Philippines, even though if you've seen my pictures, you've seen I'm Caucasian. My parents are from America. So and my name is Esteban because I married a Filipino, a Filipino American. But my parents were missionaries, and so I grew up there. And in the Philippines, typical Western medicine can be quite expensive, and a lot of people don't have health insurance. They might not even have hospitals or clinics close to where they live, and sometimes to get medical care, sometimes like you have to spend all day there, like waiting for hours and hours because doctors are limited. And so they don't really use as much Western medical care as the average American does, just because it's not as accessible. But what they do use is what we would call like alternative medicine. But for them, it's really the more like the traditional medicine. It's what people in the Philippines have been doing for thousands, like hundreds and thousands of years, things that have been handed down from their ancestors, that they were taught how to treat themselves and how to stay healthy and to heal. So if you want to be American in your holistic health and you want to buy some like expensive, I don't even know how much it costs, like $5, $10 for like a ginger shot, then yes, that does cost a lot. But if you want to buy a whole ginger root, that costs like $1. And you can make your own ginger tea on the stove. If you have a juicer, you can juice it yourself, and it's not expensive. So you can see how it's really the method that Americans go about holistic health makes a big difference. Like, yes, it is expensive to buy a Peloton bike or a subscription. I don't know how all that stuff works, but it's free to go for a walk, or to it's not free, but like if you have a bike that you have already paid for, which doesn't cost very much usually, unless you buy a really fancy bike, you can go for your own bike ride outside and you can get sunshine and fresh air and all of these things at the same time. Yes, it is expensive to eat some free range grass fed organic meal at a restaurant, but if you're cooking it at home, compared to like, I mean, you can buy a simple, clean, organic meal for like cheaper than McDonald's if you're willing to cook it yourself. It's really not that expensive. Yes, I would say there is a kind of a scale of things. So like the more expensive, because a lot of, especially Americans in our culture, we want convenience, right? We want things to be quick and effortless. So I think that's why holistic health tends to be more expensive, because people are paying more for the convenience of their holistic health. So the way I see it, it's kind of like you can only pick two, right? Like many people want their healthcare to be cheap and healthy and effective and natural, and also easy and convenient. And you can't, like if your treatment is cheap and easy, it's probably not healthy. If it is cheap and healthy, then it's probably not as convenient. Or if it's convenient and healthy, then it's probably not cheap, So it's like, hopefully that makes sense. It's like out of those three, you can really only pick two, the way that I've seen it. As far as I know, there's occasionally an exception to that, but for the most part, that is how I have seen it. So you get to pick your poison. If you are fine with holistic health being expensive, then just know you will get the healthy and the convenient. But if finances are a strain for you, just know like you're gonna have to put in some extra effort, and that's just the way it has to go. Just as a side note, though, I will say, just from my own experience with being healthy and kind of making a lot of these changes, and needing to put in the work myself, because I'm not spending thousands of dollars. I don't have that kind of money. So once you get kind of adjusted to doing something, it really does not become that big of a deal in my experience. Like, it's pretty easy to just add it into your day and make it work. And it doesn't seem like a huge inconvenience after that. So yeah, hopefully that makes it a lot easier if you've been really struggling with this like finances versus convenience thing. Then yeah. Hopefully that really helps you. But you might be thinking, if you have looked at my website or if you've had a conversation with me, like, yes, Kayla, you're saying all this stuff, but you charge $100 per session, and that's not cheap. And you're right, it is a lot cheaper than some practitioners to me. A lot of people are charging things like $150 to $200 for what I do. So it is cheaper, but I still understand $100 is not as accessible to some people. And because of that, I do try to offer adjustments to things when I can. When I do a CFT session, I can do a super bill. I do my monthly workshops with information. This podcast is another free information just to help people out. But the monthly workshops are kind of like my lower ticket things where if you're not able to do one-on-one at the time, I really I want you to be at least able to kind of like DIY it yourself for a little bit with some good quality information. So that is another option, and I will put a link to that in the show notes that you can see if you want to check that out. But the reason why I do charge $100 is because I do like to spend an hour with my clients and not just 15 minutes like a Western doctor. I don't want to go just in and out. I want to take the time to get to know people and to have conversations and to build trust and to answer questions and be really thorough as much as possible in checking to make sure that things are the right fit. I am always happy to kind of collaborate with people in their plan. So if somebody just says that doesn't work for me with a recommendation that I might make, like I'm not able to fit that into my schedule or I'm not able to fit that into my budget, I understand, because to me there are so many different ways to accomplish the same goal. And some of them are cheaper, some of them are easier, but it's just finding that right cocktail of what fits best in your life, and you're the expert on you. I don't know your life, so that's why I like to collaborate with people and to hear what's going on with what is manageable for them, because you are the expert on you and I am the expert on health, and we teamwork and we figure out some kind of common ground. So if you would like to work with me, if that sounds really great for you, or if you still have more questions about how your health can fit into your time and your budget and be really personalized to you, I will put in the show notes any details for how to contact me. You can set up a free discovery call if you have any questions still, or you can book your first session just by reaching out to me. I will put all of those links below for my website and social media if you want to check out any more information. I will also put a link to my free refresh 30-day challenge for holistic moms, which is kind of like hitting the refresh button on your life and just kind of getting a jump start on your health in mind, body, and spirit with a simple challenge each day that is just helping you work towards your health goals and kind of getting that really holistic mind, body, and spirit, all encompassing kind of health refresh. And that one is free. So you can click that link if you want to check out something that will be free and helpful for you. And thank you very much for joining me with this podcast episode. I hope you have a very blessed day, and I will see you next time.